Aloha! Welcome to the Live Ukulele podcast. My name is Brad Bordessa. Thank you for tuning in. This episode is going to be updates and a little bit of storytelling about what I have been doing recently. Running a little bit behind lately due to a very busy schedule all of a sudden. And so a little bit on the struggle bus to get the podcast out. But we've got the King Side episode coming up soon. And, well, hopefully you'll stick around and hear some of the things that I've been working on here at Live Ukulele headquarters. Before that, though, just a reminder that the Live Ukulele podcast is user/listener supported. If you like what you hear and enjoy the vast archives of the Live Ukulele podcast, consider becoming a supporting member or checking out liveukulele.com/store and grabbing yourself some of the lessons that are available over there. That is what keeps the wheels turning around here. You won't hear ads. You won't see sponsored posts. Your info is not for sale. But in return, that is the business model. Is just normal people learning ukulele, appreciating the material, and we have that exchange. So all of a sudden, I am pretty busy. I'm possibly the most busy I have ever been in my adult life, which is still not that busy because I'm not typically, a lot of people work way harder than I do. Let's put it that way. I'm very fortunate to have the ability to kind of, spend a lot of time thinking about ukulele and thinking about teaching ukulele and kind of picking here and there at different jobs and responsibilities. But now it's hard to fit everything in all of a sudden because I'm probably acclimated to managing my time poorly. We'll just blame it on that. But there's been all kinds of stuff going on. Probably the biggest and main thing is that I picked up a teaching gig at one of the local schools here in the area, teaching elementary school kids, grades 2 and 3, and grades 4 and 5. And they are kind of a lot to handle. I'm not used to teaching young people. I've spent the majority of my time kind of honing my chops learning to teach adults, and have gotten really comfortable at that. And I feel like I'm able to present well and easily and able to engage adult people. But children are kind of a different story. And I knew this going in, and I am enjoying the learning experience, but it's still very much a challenge of, managing very excitable kids. They haven't quite gotten to the attitude phase, which is very nice, but still they have tons of energy, and it's not an elective class. So a lot of them are not interested. So trying to just figure out, how do you engage with people who are not interested? How do you support the ones that are interested? How do you get the ones that just don't maybe function so well in a classroom setting? How do you get them up to speed? And so I've been learning to really take deep breaths and take a step back from maybe my normal expectations of how fast a class should be going, because we're making very slow progress. It's steady. We're getting there. And I think my impression is that a lot of the process is kind of getting the kids on board with just me being there as a teacher. Because it's part-time, right? It's a couple days a week for a few hours each day. And I'm kind of an imposter or, an outside person from their normal routine, which is set teachers and set classmates, and they're used to all the rest of that. But I'm the new guy, so they've been kind of testing me out, and we have varying degrees of success. But it's been refreshing, and it's keeping me on my toes, and it's making me think about teaching ukulele in very different ways and questioning, all the stuff that I've already established and feel like I know how to do. Well, I only know how to do it for some people in certain situations. And so I'm relearning a lot of things. I'm on my toes. As usual with teaching, I definitely feel like I'm getting more out of it than the students, which is always so interesting to me. Like as much as I work and make such an effort to impart information to the students, to a student, to anybody that I teach, I always feel like I get more back out of it, because as a teacher, I can take that interaction and examine it and go, that's right. That's how they see this. So how, and it just, everything informs everything else down the line as you get more and more used to and ingrained and comfortable with your teaching styles. Every interaction you have either confirms that, or it denies that, or you have to come up with a new way to present it. And it's just always changing and always so rewarding when you finally make a breakthrough and, kind of level up what you're doing to reach one student or another. So good stuff there. Happy to have that on my plate and to have that challenge through the end of the year. We had a great class on Zoom last month on solo arranging. It was fun. We went through Amazing Grace, kind of the basics of how you put a melody together with chords all on the same ukulele, all at the same time. Just real simple, just so folks felt like they're comfortable taking the pieces themselves and putting them together in a simple way. I hate to do anything where it's like inaccessible or single use. I want you to have the skill so you can take it and put it with the music that you want to express. Because if I'm in charge of choosing the repertoire, I'm only going to reach a small handful of people. Whereas you, if you can learn the concept, you can take it anywhere you like. Play any music you want. Use it however you feel is appropriate for your enthusiasm, whatever makes you excited about music. So that class was fun. We had a little bit of technical issues that I've got to iron out the kinks on for next time. But I think we still made good progress and had happy people and, checked all the boxes. If you are interested in checking that out, you can go to liveukulele.com/store. And if you scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page, you'll find a section of workshop replays. And so these are the Zoom workshops that I have presented in the past. You can register to watch the recording of all of that, get all the materials and everything. It's just not happening live, and you can't be a part of the Q&A conversation. Next month, coming up on the 28th of September, we're going to be doing basic improvising once again on Zoom. And they're always at 10 a.m. Hawaii Standard Time on the fourth Saturday. So that ends up being the 28th this month. And we're talking about basic improvising, which is basically just kind of hopefully getting people over the hump of feeling like, oh, improvising, that's so scary. Because it's not, and it's really something that can open a lot of doors for people. It's kind of the basis of noodling, which I know a lot of people are kind of interested in, like, oh, well, how do I just create music on the fly from whatever I'm feeling? I think that kind of this basic improvising will be a nice kind of intro to that as well. Maybe not necessarily the specific approach you would take to noodle, but some of the ideas related to playing something and then responding to that and figuring out how you want to adapt it to play it in a more optimal way, maybe next time. And how to get comfortable with expressing things and having an idea in your head, and then, okay, how do I play that on the ukulele? And then how do I bridge the gap of playing things completely from the future and imagining what they're going to be, and then also like, well, I know this note is in this scale on the ukulele, so I can probably play that note, and kind of bringing those two worlds together, because it's rarely one or the other unless you're really super high level. Usually it's a mixture of educated guesses. And so we're going to talk about that and how you can bring improvisation to a level that feels accessible to you. And while we'll try and do it as simply as possible, improvising in just kind of by nature is probably something that's best for maybe more advanced beginner or intermediate level players. So if you find yourself in that position, then come check us out. I'll put a link in the podcast description. Otherwise, you can go to the Live Ukulele homepage or the store page, and it's hard to miss the registration for the Zoom workshop. It's in a bright yellow box because I don't want you to miss it. Would love to see you there. Hopefully you can join us, and if not, there's always that replay going to be available to everybody who registered. So if you can't be there live, you can tune in at a time that works for you and benefit from the same material. Along the lines of improvising, I sat down the other day with my friend Joey Bradley here in the studio for a lesson. Now, normally this would not be very interesting, but because it's Joey Bradley, and I, as one of Joey Bradley's friends, know that he is quite an amazing musician, and we took the opportunity to record this lesson. And so I will be releasing, probably towards the end of the month, my first masterclass style video lesson. And so instead of being like a pre-recorded course where I just present at you, this is an actual interaction where Joey came with kind of a set of questions and some goals that he wanted to have some help with for his playing. And I just responded and answered off the cuff, and we played some examples and talked about, how to adapt and change what he was doing, how to make, some things that would help make that happen at a higher level and kind of close the gap on his goals and where he's currently at. And I think that it came out really nice. It's a cool format because it allows people to kind of come along for the ride, and for things that maybe you wouldn't necessarily ask about or know to ask about, Joey can bring that to the table because he's a more experienced musician. He's been playing for a while. And because it's a live lesson, there can be that interaction of, well, what about this thing that we didn't think to cover beforehand? Because it's hard to know what questions will arise when you're teaching something one way, like a video course. I try and present stuff that I have experience teaching in a classroom, teaching to real people in a live situation, so that I know what the pitfalls are and what the questions might be. But still, it's easy to miss stuff in a course, and there might be times when somebody feels like, well, what about this thing? It doesn't quite match up with what I'm thinking, or you don't know what the question is that you want to ask. And so hopefully the interaction between Joey and myself can bring some of that to the table and allow folks to kind of receive stuff at a more musical level, because we're mainly talking in musical terms. We're not talking in like scales and things like that. That's of course a part of it, but we're coming at it pedal to the metal. And I think that it'll be accessible to a lot of people. It's not necessarily that it's a strictly advanced class. I'm calling it a master class more because of the format than anything. But I think even if you're like an intermediate player and you're dabbling in improvisation, as long as you have some experience with improvising, then I think you'll find it interesting and useful and be able to follow along pretty well, because it's mostly musical concepts and we're not talking about technique or, actual logistics kinds of things. It's mostly like thinking about how do you limit yourself to be more directly connected to what you're playing, and how do you express this or express that. And so lots of interesting discussion. I'm looking forward to releasing it and hearing what you folks think about it, and, whether that style is something that I should pursue in the future, because it's very enjoyable to create. It's just, we sat down, we had a conversation, we played some stuff, we interacted, and I tried to load Joey up with as many answers to his questions as possible. And then we went on our merry way, and I kind of edited the different camera angles together afterwards. And so it wasn't a whole lot of planning or setup or anything like that. It was just kind of spontaneous. And I think that it's pretty charming. So that should be coming out maybe end of September. It's all pretty much together and ready to roll, but I figured I would get people through the door with the Zoom workshop on the 28th. And then, maybe, who knows, maybe that'll come out around the same time as the Zoom workshop, so it can all kind of go off together. We'll see what works out. In other news, my band Kingside is still working on recording our debut EP. We're putting together the tracks and starting to work on overdubs for all of the tunes that we tracked here live a couple of months ago. It's kind of slow going because we want to, we don't hammer on it too hard, and also want to, take the time and make sure to get it right as much as possible. But it's coming along. I had the band here a couple weeks ago. We sat down for a podcast. That will be next episode coming up shortly, and you'll be able to preview some of the songs we have been working on, get you some rough mixes for that episode coming up on September 21st. Yeah, that'll be the Kingside episode. And if not, that means I got to crack the whip harder on Alan to get us some rough mixes, because the people want to hear what we got, what we've been working on. Otherwise, I've just been playing gigs, staying busy with that, playing once a week at least, usually these past few months, which has been a nice change of pace. Keep things going and keep us inspired and interested and doing new things at all times. We play all these gigs, and it's easy to fall into just doing the same exact thing all the time. But I really appreciate with us, certainly Kingside, but also the other opportunities that I get to play with Kyoki and the other guys, is that it's always different. It's always something new. It's always changing, and we're always working on new things. Not so much with the Hawaiian group, but with Kingside, every practice we take a song or two, and we kind of, even something that we've been playing for years and years, we dissect it and put it back together and figure out how we can play it better, make it more interesting, and really keep things fresh. And that's really inspiring, because it's never like, oh God, we got to play this same old dumb song again, one that we've been playing forever. It's always new, and if we get bored with something, we change it. We either, take it off the set list or update it so that it's something that we are still engaged with, something that we do still enjoy playing. So that is a great gift, and part of the reason that gigging once a week is fun and enjoyable, and it's a good thing. So that's it. A little bit of a last-minute update. If you want to find out more about any of this stuff that is coming up, I encourage you to please subscribe to my newsletter if you're not already. If you are and you're not getting the emails, be sure to double check. You can sign up again and it'll reactivate your email or update to your latest email address, whatever you need to do. But that newsletter is the number one best way to stay up to date on all the stuff that's going on here at Live Ukulele. Thanks for tuning in. Just going to keep it brief. We'll be back on the 21st with the Kingside episode, and the podcast in general is every first and third Saturdays of the month. October, though, will be the last month of the season. I take November and December off. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the last 3 episodes. See what we can get up to for those and bring you some great ukulele content. If you want to support the cause, support my work here on the podcast and on liveukulele.com, please check out the podcast description and consider becoming a supporting member or checking out some of my lessons. Really does help offset the time that I put into all of this free material. I'll catch you next time. Until then, hui ho.